Hello, everyone. In light of recent political developments in Bangladesh and after the formation of a new provincial government by Dr. Muhammad Yunus, people are heard being talking about Shariful Haque Dalim. So, who actually is Shariful Haque Dalim? Where is he? Shariful Haque Dalim was once a Bangladeshi army officer, and he has also served in Pakistan Army before the liberation war of Bangladesh, and he is quite infamously known for his role in assassination of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and for which he was even prosecuted in 1996 during the Awami League's government, which was led by Sheikh Hasina. Before the liberation war of Bangladesh, Dalim had a brief stint in Pakistan Air Force and followed by his service in Pakistan Army. During the liberation war, he was posted in Quetta, and he has quite intriguing story of how he escaped West Pakistan, entered India, where he joined the Mujibnagar government, which was the provincial government of Bangladesh in India, and later on he joined Mukti Bani, and then he fought against Pakistan Army along with several other former Pakistani Army officers. In his book, Bangladesh Untold Facts, Dalim not only recounts how he escaped and joined the Mukti Bani or liberation forces, but he also gave a very detailed narrative of pre-independence or pre-liberation and post-liberation political situations and political developments in Bangladesh or in East Pakistan. Let's now explore that what was Dalim's role in the assassination of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and how his relationship with Mujib soared over time. There's a well-known story about Dalim and his wife Nimi being insulted by one of the Awami League's leader, who was a senior official and head of Awami League in Dhaka, Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa, and he was also head of Bangladesh Red Cross. So there are basically two key narratives about this entire story, regarding which involves Shariful Haque Dalim and his wife. So one narrative is that one narrative which is mentioned by Anthony Mascarenhas in his book Bangladesh Legacy of Blood. In this book, Mascarenhas, he mentioned that there was a wedding party in ladies club in Dhaka where a lot of where several army officers were also attending, several other VIPs were there, and Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa was also there. He was the head of Awami League in Dhaka, so city head or something like that. And at the same time, he was the chairman of Bangladesh Red Cross. Anthony Mascarenhas referred to Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa as hard-hitting Awami League city boss in Dhaka and Mujib's right-hand man. So from this, you can guess how close he was to Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. On the other hand, Shariful Haque Dalim was also quite close to Sheikh Mujib, and they had some family relations, and they were in good terms, as narrated by Shariful Haque Dalim himself, which we'll talking about later in the later part of the video. So, according to the narrative of Anthony Mascarenhas, Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa, during that wedding party, Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa and his men, they insulted or harassed Shariful Haque Dalim and his wife in that wedding party, and someone even claimed, according to Anthony Mascarenhas, that they even tried to kidnap them. And but there is no confirmation of this event, according to Anthony Mascarenhas, who is writing this in 1986. Dalim's army colleague, they were quite enraged by the incident, and they took military personnel and they went to hunt down Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa and his gang. And then they even stormed into his house, and the tension was quite escalated, and then eventually they have to approach Sheikh Mujibur Rahman for a solution. And Sheikh Mujibur Rahman somehow temporarily managed and calmed the situation. Mascarenhas further states that later on, after another report of indiscipline at the cantonment, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman ordered a military inquiry into the misconduct of some junior army officers, including Shariful Haque Dalim. So, as a result of that inquiry, 22 officers, including Dalim, and there were some other prominent officers like Noor and Huda, who were eventually even involved in the assassination of Sheikh Mujib. All of them were dismissed, and or they were prematurely retired. Anthony Mascarenhas also mentioned that Dalim was offered help by Sheikh Mujib upon his dismissal from army, that Sheikh Mujib can help him establish his business, or even Sheikh Mujib tried to offer him some diplomatic positions in a foreign missions in abroad. So this is quite a brief narrative mentioned by Anthony Mascarenhas, and then there comes another narrative which is from Dalim himself. So although Shariful Haque Dalim's whereabouts remain unknown, in 2015 he published a book in which he provides quite detailed account of various events, including the same incident involving Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa. And he also narrated this story, but in more detailed way, and he has a slightly different narrative from Anthony. So according to Dalim, Mustafa held a personal grudge against him, and he was waiting for the right time, or waiting for an opportunity to take action or to do something against Shariful Haque Dalim. So at this wedding party at the ladies' club, Mustafa's son insulted Dalim's brother-in-law by pulling his hair repeatedly, leading him to kick them out of the room. And the sons likely complained to Mustafa, and who then stormed the club with guns and several police officers using his influence. Dalim claims that at that time he was totally unaware of the situation and totally unaware of the commotion, as he was busy with the guests. So Mustafa and his gunmen took Dalim and his wife at gunpoint. Again, according to Dalim, Mustafa and his gunmen, they took them on the gunpoint and forced them into a van, and Mustafa drove his own car, and then they tried to they took them somewhere. So Dalim believes that Mustafa planned to kill them, but changed his mind after Dalim pointed out that people have seen them together, and the army would likely react, and army would definitely take action against Mustafa and his gang. So upon this, Mustafa instead took them to Sheikh Mujib's house. So probably Mustafa changed his mind. He also realized that this could escalate, and the things can get really out of his hands. So he took them to Sheikh Mujib's residence. So all of them were in the van. They were parked outside, and Mustafa went inside, and he told Sheikh Mujib that there were some drunk army officers who were misbehaving in the party, and he have brought them here for the arrest. Okay, so Sheikh Mujib, upon hearing this, he called the police chief and asked him to report and arrest those army officers. But when Sheikh Mujib was informed that the army officer is Shariful Haque Dalim, Sheikh Mujib brought them in, and then he promised Shariful Haque Dalim that he would really investigate the matter, and he also promised them justice. At the same time, he ordered Mustafa to apologize to both Shariful Haque Dalim and his wife. In short, while they were still on Sheikh Mujib's residence, they received a call that army has stormed Mustafa's house, arresting his family members, and it's all army all around the city. There are several checkposts by army, and then they are looking for Mustafa. Now, situation apparently seems quite out of control. It means that when Dalim and his wife was kidnapped, his army fellow men, they immediately took action, and they were all on the streets, and they have already installed several checkposts, and in a way they have, in short, they have reacted. So upon this, when Sheikh Mujib learned this, he called Army Chief General Shafiullah and asked him to report immediately, and also asked him to order the troops that they should immediately leave and go back to the cantonment, since Shariful Haque Dalim and his wife and Mustafa and everybody is with Sheikh Mujib in his residence, so army can just go back. This is quite interesting that Chief of Army Staff General Shafiullah is uninformed of the situation, and there are all the troops in the city. So from here you can it also exposed the fragmented chain of command in the early days of Bangladesh Army. As I have also mentioned in several other videos, that since it was a newly formed country and newly formed military, the chain of command in army was not working that properly, and even the major rank officers, they have a very big authority, and then they had power to bring army wherever they want, and they were in a situation or in a position to influence a lot of things or a lot of decisions. Okay, so coming back to the story, following this event, Dalim and several other officers, they also submitted. Also, all of them, after this incident, all of them, they left Sheikh Mujib's residence, and since Sheikh Mujib has promised everybody that this justice would be served. Okay, so following this event, Dalim and several other officers, they submitted a list of demands to Army Chief. Later on, in the following days, in the cantonment, they went to Army Chief and submitted a list of demands. So 3 main demands that they asked Army Chief. So on top of the list was the immediate dismissal of Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa from all official positions, and then they also required that the Prime Minister should allow national media to broadcast this news, that what exactly happened to Shariful Haque Dalim and his wife, and it's done by Ghazi Ghulam Mustafa, and he is being dismissed from all the official positions. And third demand was that since Sheikh Mujibur Rahman is also the party head, so officially he should apologize to army or to Shariful Haque Dalim and his wife. So these 3 demands were presented to Chief of Army Staff, which were of course not considered. And later on, I think even after the retirement of General Shafiullah, during one of his interviews, he said that when he presented these demands to Sheikh Mujib, he really lost his temper, and he said that you don't even know who are you talking to. So these were the words quoted by General Shafiullah, that is how Sheikh Mujib reacted, and he said that you should know that you are talking to the president. Anyway, so none of the demands were met. Instead, a promise of an inquiry was made, that Sheikh Mujib promised that an inquiry would be done, and later on, after some time, surprisingly, as per Dalim and several other army officers were forced into early retirement, which is also kind of mentioned by Anthony Mascarenhas. So Shariful Haque Dalim further mentioned in his book that before his departure, Dalim and Huda, they went to meet Sheikh Mujib, and Sheikh Mujib, who reportedly said that he had no choice but to consider his party's position, because he also have his party, his political party, and his people, so he also have to listen to them. So at the same time, according to Dalim, Mujib offered Dalim a diplomatic position in a foreign mission, or even offered help or assistance in setting up a business, but according to Dalim, he refused both the offers. Okay, so further in his book, Dalim emphasized that despite these events and whatever happened between Shariful Haque Dalim and Sheikh Mujib and his premature retirement and everything, he maintained a good personal relationship with Sheikh Mujib, and he recounts several instances to support this claim. So these are the 2 slightly different narratives about the incident, which is quite well known, And Shariful Haque Dalim, since as I mentioned earlier, he was prosecuted, he was sentenced to death in his absence, and his whereabouts are unknown as of now. He's absconding. Nobody knows where is he, but there are people who claim different things about him, because he even have been holding a Kenyan passport. He has certainly very good relations with different countries and individuals, and of course he has been serving as a diplomat towards different countries. Even he has served in China, in Hong Kong, and some other countries, in Pakistan as well. And then there are also news that he have business interests somewhere in Africa, probably in Kenya. His book was published in 2015, as I mentioned earlier, and there's a separate, very short, very brief review of his book. His book is quite detailed. Maybe some other time I'll try to cover some other part of his book, but at the moment, this is what he mentioned in his book. So another interesting thing is probably his book is not available in Bangladesh. So there are many people who are really searching and looking for this book. I am not even sure if there's a PDF version of this book, since this is a copyright protected. So certainly I can also not change it to a PDF and publish or share with anybody. So but this book is certainly available at some platforms where it can be purchased, and if anybody is interested to read, because this is a different narrative given by a former Pakistan Army officer, a former Bangladesh Army officer, a former freedom fighter, or a former ambassador. So there are so many identities of Shariful Haque Dalim. So yeah, that's all I think for now, and thank you very much for watching.